Whoa, good morning. Good morning. Tuesday morning, April I got the dates all wrong. I uploaded the video yesterday and there I forgot what date it is. Good morning, Karela. Hope you're well. Morning, Pamela Wallace. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? I'm so lucky I get to see that every day. Morning, Marcy. Morning, Gordon. Isn't that beautiful? Right, there's a few people here. Let's get cracked on and I'll get it done quick. Look at the state of me. I've got my curlers in underneath this hat. I'm going for a perm. Now, we are following the 12 and we are on step 9. Step 9 is the gift. That's the treasure. As I said yesterday, that's where they pull the sword out of the rock in King Arthur. It's where Luke Skywalker rescues Princess Leia and embodies the Force and is able to communicate, I guess, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, although Obi-Wan Kenobi is gone. So, I'm going to start off with a story, and I phoned the chap, texted the guy yesterday afternoon. He got back to me and he said it's okay, I'm not going to use his name, but for the purpose of this we'll call him Bill, right? So one of the last clients I had before lockdown was Bill. Bill's a 58-year-old guy, had a 50-year-old girlfriend, and the reason I'm emphasising his age is, one would say that it would be that you're slightly more stuck in your programme at 58 than you are at 48, 38, 28, 18 or 8. Right, so 58-year-old Bill comes to see me. Him and his 50-year-old girlfriend had split up, right? What was your aim? I want to get my girlfriend back. Right, so that was this step. That was the treasure that he wanted. And I said, okay, so let's look at that in opposite. Let's look at that you're not going to get her back. What would that mean for you? What would that look like? He wasn't willing. There was a lot of resistance at the beginning to accept that he would have to let go of her to move forward. So, as we started digging through, he committed to 6 sessions. He did his 6 sessions. And as we started talking, he kept wanting to talk about the problem, the challenge that he had with his relationship with his girlfriend, which then turned out to be that he was able to come to some self-actualisation, that the relationship challenge that he had was actually with himself, not with her. Now, what he actually did was, and the reason that she split up with him was that he had started to become suspicious, and he put a little tracker in her car. Right? I'm making light of that. It's awful, isn't it? So, put a tracker in her car, right? So, he's saying, I want to get her back, I want to get her back. But where we went and where we went to was the place of pain that he was experiencing that would cause him to put a tracker on his girlfriend's car, which then in turn opened up a set of questions around about his relationship with himself, and that he didn't have a relationship with himself, okay? And then we started digging into his childhood, his adolescence, and we started looking at the relationship that he had had prior to this. He'd been married for a number of years, and we started to look at that, and we started to look at how he had actually never had a relationship with himself and was attempting to validate who he was through the relationships of which he had. His words, not mine. In his marriage, he was a yes man, okay? But he was happy to be doing all of that because he was the appreciation, and what allowed him to recognise himself was the pat in the back that he got from his wife at the time, okay? So the goal that he came to see me for was to get his girlfriend back, right? What he actually did was he jacked his job, right? He got another job, right? And he got his girlfriend back. His girlfriend came back to him, right? But it didn't come in the form of which he had originally intended. So the reason that I shared that story with you is when we get to this point where we get the treasure, okay, it might not be the treasure that we originally set out to get, right? But if we're back at step 1 in the ordinary world and we're not taking a step towards anything and we're burying our head in the sand like an ostrich and we're not walking towards anything, then that's not going to, the truth or whatever you call it's not going to, hello, who's talking to me? All right, big fella, John Crossan, Alan Cunningham, Nadia, good morning. Morning, Harvey. Right, so the goal, this is getting the goal. So Harvey's a boxer, right? Harvey's goal might be to compete. I don't know anything about boxing. Let's say bantamweight, he looks pretty fit, right? So in order for him to get to that stage, David, I want to get to this stage, Ross, right? So you put in some coaching models, you put in some programme, and he says, right, okay, when are you going to be ready to achieve that goal? Right, 90 days from now, 180 days from now, and you put in a training programme for David that's there, right? And David starts walking towards that goal. What he actually uncovers about himself has far more reaching implications than just getting in a ring to fight at bantamweight. So back to step one, ordinary world, when step two, when you're hearing the call and you've got the goal, this was your goal. This is us getting to the goal stage now. But the goal may or may not materialise, but certainly it may not come in the form that you originally set out for it to come in, right? Now, the guy that I spoke about, let's call him Bill. Bill, you know, I got a fright there when I said his name Bill. I went, is his name Bill? No, it's no, I made that up. Right, so his goal, I want my girlfriend back, right? Okay, what did you split up for? I put a tracker in her car. Wow, where was your head at when you put a tracker in your girlfriend's car? Right. Okay, before we can go any further, what we need to do is delete that you're going to get anywhere near your girlfriend and that's over. And can you go into the pain that it's actually over and let it go? Yeah. And then we start to talk and we get into the past and we look at his relationships that he's always had and he's always done and how he's put himself subservient and submissive to other people, etc., etc. And then he starts forming, what do you really want? What is it that you're after, right? And out of the blue, when he came to see me, he had no idea that he was going to leave his job. He left his job, he contacted some previous people that he had worked with 20 years ago. They opened up a communication through LinkedIn, I think. And boom, before you know it, on the Tuesday night, bang, interview with the owner. You've got a job, making more money than he was making in his current position. But one of the reasons why he had put the tracker in his girlfriend's car was because of how inadequate he was feeling, right? His fears that he had around about her and the suspicions that he's had were not validated in any truth. They were only validated because of the place that he was coming from that had absolutely no self-worth. And where was he being bullied and downtrodden the most? At his work, right? So it wasn't like he just, let's watch The Secret and the Law of Attraction and let's just jack the job and a new job will come. No, he action stepped it. He set out, first and foremostly, to make contact with other people that he had worked with. He wrote out letters, he wrote out emails, he made himself available, he started to show up, he faced each fear. So within the microcosm, he went through this journey just by applying for other jobs at 58 years old, 5 years from retirement. All those old stories, who's going to employ me at 58, who's going to employ me at 58, who's going to want me at 58. He got a fantastic job. And I believe it was earning £5,000 more a year than what he was currently earning. And it was closer, so there was less fuel involved. He was then able to hand over his resignation. And do you know one of the most beautiful parts of that self-actualisation that he came up with? He was looking forward to handing in his resignation and being able to hand it over, and he had this fantasy running in his head that he was going to say to his boss, there's my resignation. Oh, what are you handing your resignation in for? And then give him a list of his faults. Oh, because, you know, you remember on the 4th of February at 4:30 when you wouldn't let me go home early, but, you know, I've covered for you for the last 5 years, and and he had all these stories built up in his head. And he came in and I said, how you forced him to do that? And he told me what fantasy he had running. And the most beautiful thing about that self-actualisation for me was when he turned around and said, I'm just going to hand my notice in. I had this big fantasy what I was going to do and tell and, you know, show him what he's done over the years. And I went, that would be me just giving my power away again. So I'm actually not even going to tell him where I'm going to go. I'm going to hand in my notice and be done with it. It's like that. Fantastic. That's excellent, right? And lo and behold, through this journey, he never made contact with the girlfriend. He had no agenda that he was going to get her back. She come through to get some stuff. The transformation was clear to see in him because he was healthier, happier, right? He was a completely different guy. He'd started forming a relationship with himself that he had never had before. And of course, what did that bring about in him? He was attractive, right? He was just alluring attractiveness. Why? Because he was available, because he was no longer below the water, he was above the water, right? So that's this part of the journey. This part of the journey spiritually for some could be enlightenment. This is where Buddha reached enlightenment. This is where, many stories, this is where in like Thor, the movie Thor, when remember he was just a little brat and then his dad kicked him out and told him to be a giver rather than a taker. So for most of us on this journey up to this point, whatever the goal might be, the self-actualization that generally comes at this point in the story is the turn from where you're just basically a child. You're just playing out unconscious scripts and schemas of your childhood, and where you're taking from society. I'm entitled to unemployment benefit because, now don't get me wrong, I think there's a place for unemployment benefit if you're really, really sick. But the majority of people that I see on unemployment benefit, right, could actually be doing something, right? And through all of this, don't get me started in that, we really need to have a revamp of our system. Look at that draining our economy, and our economy is so weak anyway. Everybody's got something to give. Everybody's got something to give. But if we're caught in that baby, child, adolescent state where it's take, right? That's not helpful, okay? So this stage in the journey about getting the goal, getting the crown, whatever you want to call it, right? This is where we take the twist and we take the turn and we start giving to our environment. We start giving to our environment rather than taking from our environment. Now let's look at that a wee tiny bit as well, right? So I follow my belief, I call this a holodeck, right? Now, look at that. Look at that. Somebody's dumped a bottle of Buckfast. Right, that's awful. But I'm not going to carry a bottle of Buckfast through the wood. Now, I noticed that because of shame. I don't want somebody to see me walking along here and think he's out at 7:30 in the morning, drink a bottle of tonic. But what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to bring a plastic bag with me. And I saw cans of Red Bull and stuff like that up there. I'm going to pick up the rubbish tomorrow. So that's a mental note. Right, okay, so a wee bit on giving and taking. Now, I see this field of consciousness, shall we call it, that we inhabit. I call it a holodeck, right? Like on Star Trek, you know that holodeck you stand on and take me to Paris, 1918, right? So this reality that we're inhabiting, this holodeck, if you like, right, it responds to our energy. It works with us, right? What we give out, we get back. It's like a biofeedback mechanism. It's a loop. Antonio was talking about biofeedback mechanisms, and I've spoke about them myself early on in some other videos, not this one particularly. Biofeedback mechanism, a very quick example, is like an MPG calculator on your car, okay? So if you're sitting at sort of six gear, 56 miles an hour, you're getting a nice 50 miles to the gallon, maybe 60, maybe 70, right? And you're liking that, right? Because you're trying to save money and not burn fuel and reduce your carbon footprint, obviously. So when you put it into third gear, put the foot down and overtake 3 cars in a line, your miles per gallon go down to 17 miles to the gallon, right? So that's indicative of how your environment is responding to you, okay? So when you're nice and relaxed, the engine's nice and relaxed, you're getting good feedback, you're getting good miles per gallon, right? But when you're booting it and you've got your foot synced in, you've got your toe into the heel and you're chatting on, your miles per gallon is bad. Now think for a moment, how do you feel when you're in third gear and you're overtaking all this line of cars? Your body's tight, it's constrictive. It's not relaxed and easy street, it's not nice and simple, right? Everything's tight. Now, if this holodeck that we inhabit and you're communicating with it from a nice, relaxed, easy, where you've got no agendas, right, where you're not taking, obviously, right, where you're giving to the field, where you're in service, and where you're giving, that field of consciousness opens up and starts communicating to you in that way. As I've said to you, we make our own shadow figures. What we don't deal with inside ourselves, we were talking about that yesterday, shows up in our external world. I was speaking about that last night. I went a walk around the loch with a neighbour and we were having a kind of conversation about that. So what we like to do is we like to walk about thinking we're good people. We're not good people, right? We aren't. And all those good people that walk about, I'm a really good little Christian and I give 10% of my tithes away to charity and I'm a really good person. But these villains keep showing up in your life, right? We have been taught that there's a battle of good and evil going on out there. It's not going on out there. Well, it is, but it's not going on out there. It's going on in here, right? It's going on within us. We've got the wee devil on our shoulder and we've got the wee angel on our shoulder. What one's going to win? The one that you fling bread to, the one that you feed, right? So, see how much I go off on tangents. Now, this holodeck, giving or taking. See when you start to take all the time, right? Where you're an energy vampire, where you're taking all the time, right? Your environment, your holodeck becomes very, very small. It becomes very, very tight. It's a very tight feeling. Whereas when you just start giving yourself, right? A coach said to me 20 years ago, oh God, more than that. Wow. Yeah, 20 odd years ago. Flashback time there. Let's call it 20 years ago, it was longer. And I wasn't happy in a job that I was doing. And I was talking to him, I'm not happy about this job. And he went, what is it you're not happy about it? And he went, blah, 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 blah. Right. He says, where is it that you want to get to? I said, well, I want to get to here. And he said, right, what I suggest you do is you're walking into your job and you're hating it. Yep, that's pretty much true, right? So as you're driving along in the car, you're hating going to your work. Aye. So as you're going to it, you're making that a really tight environment. You're making that a very constrictive holodeck. So he says, what my suggestion is to you is what you do is that you go into your work and love everything about it. Give it everything wholeheartedly. Just give yourself to it. I went, right, cool, I'll do that, boss, whatever. He says, and within 14 days, you'll notice a difference. So when I went and I was working and whatever it was I was doing, I was working in, I can't really say that, can I? But okay, I was working with, anyway, it doesn't matter. Right, everything that I did, I absolutely loved about the job. I absolutely just gave myself to it. I got myself really excited about going back to it, etc, 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 right? Within 10 days, I got offered a night shift position at the same place at my work. Now that meant that my wages almost doubled. And I went, right, cool, I'm going to take it. So I took the night shift position. That then allowed me to buy my first, it was 2000, I'd just come back from Australia. I'd been travelling for about 3 years. I went to India and Australia and all around the blooming globe, right? And when I came back after travelling, it was 2000. So it was 20 years ago. And that night shift job then gave me enough wages to buy my property. So that then got me on the property ladder, right? That gave me a feeling of security. Within 6 months, I had bought my next property. Within 6 months, I had bought my next property again, right? I then left the job that I was completely unhappy with because it had fulfilled the need that it got for me to go onto the property ladder. And before you know it, I had 7 properties. And that's what I began doing. Between 2000 and 2006, I had 7 properties, right? Those 7 properties were then generating an income, a revenue. That money then allowed me to put myself through university in 2006, right? Supported my lifestyle, put me through university, and so on and so forth and so on. And so the system starts to replicate. But until I actually got to grips with what I needed to do, that system wasn't getting the chance to replicate. I hope that's making sense. I really do. I hope that's making sense. It's making sense in my head anyway. So this is the gift. This is the area where you get the gift. And I don't know what your gift is. Only you know what your gift is. And maybe the gift is just starting to see the shadow figures that are in your life are actually you. Okay, and everybody and everything that you've got a projection on, oh, he's a thief and he's violent and he's aggressive and he's controlling and he's all these things. As I said to you yesterday, mirror, mirror on the wall. We live in a world of mirrors. We live in a world of mirrors, and everything that you see is you, right? So, what's that saying? Those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Same thing applies here. Living in a world of mirrors, and everything that you see in your environment is you. Everything you see is you. Own that projection and pull it back. Because really, I tell a great story about, I'll share this with you before I go. Today's been a storytelling thing, ironically, because that's what we're moving into tomorrow. Clever of me. Wasn't planned. There's a set of woods here, right? And I'm with one of you, and we're walking through the woods together, right? And you're like, oh, these wonderful woods, they're so fantastic. I love walking in the forest because my grandfather built me a tree house and he used to take me up there every Sunday, and I just absolutely love connecting with that, and it's all those happy memories. And I'm walking about like this. Oh, I hate the forest because when we were 14-year-old and we were running through the woods, we found a guy hanging for a tree for a rope, right? I hate the forest. What you're projecting onto the forest is joy and happiness because your great-grandfather built you a tree house and used to have a lot of fun and learned a lot of wisdom from him. Me, I hate the forest because when I was running through it when I was 14, there was a guy hanging for a tree from it, right? The forest is actually innocent. The forest has no meaning other than it's a forest. But the meaning that we have placed upon it is what gives it its validation. Now, the forest isn't bad. The situation that I encountered was bad and traumatic and embedded into my unconscious and subconscious mind. And then every time I walk through a forest, I'm projecting that image out into the forest. And of course, I'm then saying the forest is bad. I hope this is making sense. It makes sense in my head. Now, maybe your gift is just to see that all those negative relationships that you've had, those toxic relationships you've had, where you can point your finger and, oh, he or she was this, that, and the next thing, right? At some level, that was validating your inner world and propping up your experience. If you're able to take accountability for that and start to see everything reflected through your eyes back like a mirror, then we're on a path of development that we can't get back off of. Right? So that's this morning. This is the gift. The gift can be whatever. It can be metaphorical. It can be psycho-spiritual. It can be whatever. It could be you getting to that point. Yeah, I've ran out. My brain's went empty. See, I've unloaded my brain. Have a fantastic Tuesday. I'm going down to Labour to an electrician. No, I'm not. That was stupid to say that. Social distancing. I'm going down to let the electrician into a flat I've got. Because the house is empty, he can get the work done himself today. So I'm looking forward to that, something a little bit different. And do a wee bit of gardening, get the place ready. And I'm excited about that, actually. So I hope you all have a fantastic day. Looking forward. I'm really honestly, see all of you that are emailing me and texting me and you're getting something out of it, man. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? We've just got to get in and get after this. This is great work. And really, life is so short. It's so short. You'll definitely miss 1,000% of the shots that you don't take. Line it up, get the net, bang it in. It might not go in, but at least you tried. I wish you all the best. Have a fantastic day, and see you tomorrow. We're nearly done, by the way. You're nearly rid of me. Catch you.